I think that what they find in the language, first of all, is it is thoroughly Jewish. Yiddish means Jewish. That Yiddish is a vehicle. It opens a door into who they are and where they come from. And so there is excitement that is generated just by the language.
Yiddish means to me now something very different than it meant before. I mean, now it means Yiddish is a whole world rather than just a language.
Well, firstly, it fascinates me that it's all around us and we kind of don't know it exists. You know, there's all these words that, you hear because they've been incorporated into the English language. And, even on the west coast of Canada, which is not a particularly Jewish part of the world, all these, like, you even hear nachas there and all, you hear words that are English and yet not. And so then suddenly you're learning Yiddish and it's like, oh, that's what that is, that's what this means and that's where that comes from.
One of the things that I love to do with my beginners class in particular is watch their faces when they make the connection between the word schrecklich, awful, and oya Shrek, oh, how frightful. And then I say, and the movie Shrek, and the light bulbs that go on, and the smiles and the laughter that erupt, and that connection that, oh my gosh, here are a bunch of Jewish guys having fun at the expense of everyone by using this common Yiddish word.
When I was a youngster, they were called the Yiddish Progressive Schools. And of course, they were run by the late Itcher Goldberg. I started in nursery at the age of 3. I probably have one of the longest shul careers in North America. And after nursery and kindergarten, of course, was an afternoon school, but we went 5 days a week. And I went through elementary school, and then I went to middle shul. And in the second year, the Bronx middle shul was quite large, but the numbers were declining in my time, so it amalgamated with the Manhattan and Brooklyn schools in my second year.
Well, I think it's clear that as the number of native Yiddish speakers is diminishing, and as the settings where Yiddish as a spoken language is diminishing, aside from the Hasidic world, that it's increasingly important in the academic settings to teach Yiddish and to expose students to Yiddish, that's increasingly where students come to encounter Yiddish.
I think it sort of was like a matter of identity that drew me to it. And I, like everyone else probably who started this class, had this like, oh, well, Yiddish is dying and I want to revive it and all that. And I mean, obviously now I understand more of the complications of that, but it was just it was a really exciting thing to see as a class that I could take, not just something, you would talk about in a section of a class or, talk about with my dad or something like that. It was like a real academic subject to study.
There is a Yiddish revival. There are young people who learned Yiddish. Clearly you don't have to come from a Yiddish-speaking household in order to speak Yiddish. And it's a significant group of people, and they produce things, they do things. And so from that standpoint, there is a Yiddish revival. It's quite striking. It's very obvious in terms of music and the American musical culture now, which is being somewhat inflected by, the revival of klezmer.
And with Yiddish, it always just felt really comfortable. Like I really love singing in Yiddish, and I love speaking the words in Yiddish. It's a really. I love expressing myself with this music, with the music of that language.
I like the roughness, and this is also something that you need to learn to hear, like the directness. I like that quality in Yiddish, like the impoliteness, the balance of like the beauty and something directly in your face, that you couldn't say more direct. I like it because that's also musical quality, Yeah, it needs to have that range.
it's a bit of a secret language too. I like having a secret language. That sometimes we're born into it. Sometimes we move somewhere and it is necessary, and other times we make a choice to learn a language, even if we don't expect to use it fluently. I mean, how many places really these days am I going to speak fluent Yiddish? Not a lot. And I would have to be quite particular about where I spent my time if I wanted to do that. And yet, the choice to learn a language is a choice to include culture in my life, a choice to include memory.
I love Yiddish. You know, you know, the minute you start speaking Yiddish or read Shalom Aleichem or something, you know, you're in this world that's so totally gone. You know, Jews today. I like the expression "meves nicht mit was meestes." You know, you don't know whether you use a fork or a knife to eat it. You know, and you know, the vast majority. I mean, you're probably, you know, if you're touching something in Yiddish, it's because you felt that call. You know, you felt that, you know, that world that's only accessible to us today through the language.
And of course, for anyone entering Yiddish, you're entering a wonderful world of literature and culture and texts that they wouldn't have access to otherwise. So the fact of the matter is that much of Yiddish culture will probably never exist in translation. Yeah? And the only way to gain access to it is by learning the language. So it's you know, it's a wonderful culture and it's a wonderful language, and to me it's a great privilege to read within it. I mean, every time I read a Yiddish book, I feel that I'm very, very privileged. It's not that difficult, you know. I'm amazed that more people don't do it.